guess that's what's up. Let's do the stand so that you can turn on your receiver. You guys copy? Bend like this. Feet straight, right? These are your positions. But I don't like doing it east and west, as you have heard me say. But if you're fresh to this whole thing, click on videos, right? Go down to the bottom, start from the beginning. It's hours, right? 70 episodes of transmission, right? From here, and reception, right? So you do the training and you listen while you're training. This is a training, but it tricks you into meditating. That's what I've explained, is because it's physical. It reminds you that your apparatus is what makes it possible, right? But it also tricks you into getting into a state which, in which the measuring device, right, disappears, right? So that you can actually perceive without the instrument affecting what you're looking at, right? Which is the observer effect. So, and that's why we talk about paradox, right? Today we talk about paradox, but let's do the 18 breaths. So bend, right? Knees over toes. Turn under by pushing out with your lumbar. Right? Feel the angle of those hips, right? You want it to be in balance, right? Not cocked one way or the other, right? And so you're hanging your coccyx, basically. That's why you get into horse stance, is so that you can permit your spine to go straight down and straight up, right? So 3 breaths each position. Eyes in front, chin down, thoracic forward, lumbar back, glutes unflexed. If you see me blinking, you can see that. I don't know, I might tell you what's been going on with me. I might not, but blinking is thinking, right? So So on this out breath, right, this is what I always harp on, is you extend, right? You, without muscle engagement, right, you stretch upwards without flexing anything, right? And this creates that conduit up your spine and permits you to feel that weightlessness, right? That command of the fulcrum, right? Between the trough and the peak. Right? That's the feeling right there. It's like that you are right on the end of a ballpoint pen, right? Standing on that ball. But and so it matters what you do. But when you let go and have that weightlessness, then you can respond, take action, right? In accordance with the surroundings in order to navigate it without being subject to elevation and collapse. So that is the paradox, right? That's the paradox. So are you following? Your physical and spiritual at the same time, or your energetic signature connects to all things because everything is connected. And when you let go like that, right, with permitting the perception of that ever presence, right, and knowing that it is you, and but once you, but not your physical you, the entirety is you, right, which makes it possible to navigate from the fulcrum, which is neither one end of the pole, the dual, the polarity, the duality, right? One requires the other. So if you are on one side and defending that position, then you become the other side. Because to defend your position, you identify what you are not, which is what you think you are not, what you think you are against or subduing is just the polar opposite of what you are, right? So, all right, fucking, I've been over this. The key is to ride in that area that Walter Russell called the fulcrum and the Zen Buddhists call the middle way, you know. And in the West, we think of the middle way as boring, you know, like as an immediate knee jerk. In the West, that the middle way, because it doesn't have the extremes, it doesn't have the emotional connection, right? But that's not the case, actually. Operating on the fulcrum is negation right? Of as a sentient being, right? It's required as a sentient being, right? In order to operate at your highest and best good, your fullest potential. Um, in order to operate at that level, then your input, right, your intake, right, your perception has to be clean, right, and uninhibited, unfettered, uh, non-polarized, right? It's so interesting that that same word is used to describe lenses, right? So it keeps out certain, um, well, it keeps out, as you know, for polarized glasses, it's for fishing, right? So it's like it blocks the 90-degree transverse wave, which is reflected light, you know, so you can see into water a lot better, right? No reflections. So polarized lenses, right? But if you see the world as made up of, you know, opposites that are and are unable to be aware that the opposites are polarity, right? And that they can exist without each other. To remove one is to remove both, right? Um, and so that's what freaks us out about the observer effect so much, is because an electron or a subatomic particle behaves, you know, like a wave, right? When you intend to measure a wave, and then it behaves like a particle when your apparatus is set up to measure particles. And previous to any measurement, obviously, since it can exhibit both types of behavior unequivocally, right? So it's like, yes, definitely, it creates an interference pattern in the double slit experiment, right? I mean, it's right there. And then, oh shit, it fucking creates a scatter pattern when we have it set up in a different configuration. And so, is it a particle or is it a wave, right? This is the duality of the paradox of material reality. um, and so it kind of demonstrates, right, uh, the way waves can simulate particles, and it requires the cognitive interaction of consciousness. Um, to flip, you know, to either register it as one thing or the other. And so the whole thought experiment, which is very effective, is, you know, the uncertainty principle, right? Which is uh, the uncertainty principle and Heisenberg's, you know, paradox of observation, where when it's an indeterminate time frame whether an event will happen, right? Um, it is in a state of happening and not happening until observed, right, at some critical juncture. um, yeah. So what I'm getting at is that everything is waves. You know, everything begins as waves, and so you have to use the properties of waves to understand the rules of nature. Um, and there's obviously large scale waves, right? Time waves, all kinds of fucking waves. And so, but you can, properties of waves, man. It's just the 7 principles. And so you can use those as tools to identify, right? To observe the observer, right? That's the first step, I guess. Observing the observer, right? Yourself. And then recognizing at some point, at the moment of letting go, that the observer is the observed, right? That there is no separation between them. And so, yeah, it's all very what Alan Watts talks about, but he made it palatable for the Western mind, and the fact that he was operating at full power so long ago. Alan Watts, right? I'm talking about. And, right, it's a distillate of all of the religions, right? Down to this, the recognition of this paradox, right? That polarity is unity in disguise, right? That we want to see the world as separate, but it's forced in our faces. So power versus force, right? I'm going to wrap this up pretty quick here. And this paradox, right, of accepting, right, that's how you ride the fulcrum. That's what I'm getting at. That's the message of this video. Is that, so if it's a paradox, then how do you resolve it, right? And that is the resolution of the problem, right? Is maintaining that superposition, right? Which is that non-coherent. And that, see, these words get used against us, right? Not incoherence, non-coherence, right? Which is that quantum state that permits superposition, right? So when we make this measurement of saying of the self recognizing difference, right, that collapses the wave function of reality for, right? And when we let go of that owning of the perception of reality, right, then we can actually perceive in a much greater way, right? So that's all of the messages right there. Letting, permitting the paradox of what we are, right? Which is this walking, talking, can feel the difference entity versus, this energetic, singular emanation, right? That is connected to all things. And if you, right, just tune in and then finish later. It's tricky for me, yeah, right, to tune that out. The pop ins and then the exits, because, yeah, you do have to watch it from the beginning. But as I was saying, it's just hours of stuff to think about while you're fucking pressing or doing your cardio. And it's this, permission of your consciousness to allow superposition, right? Without perception, without identification, right? With the perceiver and the observed, right? Which is the collapse of the wave function, right? Of the entirety, of the totality, and the particular awesomeness that we have, right? By being in this dimension of the stack of dimensions that is the cosmos, is this delayed response kind of. And that's disappointing to me myself, right, to describe it that way, but that's just the way it came out. But it's this like, this is the place where conception, right, can lead to production. and so there's this whole thing, this process of design, right, that begins with thinking, right, with an idea, which begins with what I was speaking of before, which is this is perhaps the gift that is so amazing about being alive, right, as a human being, or whatever the fuck word you want to use for it, is this ability to create, right? And it seems silly, right, when you say it like that, right? Because, oh yeah, obviously. But no, I mean, this is the profound fucking thing, which is where something comes from the nebulous zone, the nether regions, right, of an individual mind, right? That something novel and unique, something that never has existed before. And that's only possible because the mind is separate. It's like this own little laboratory that takes in, right, and works on fucking and processes information in order to arrive at something new. And that's like the whole purpose of our existence, right? But the optimum performance, right, is when you are in that creative mode and relinquish control of the vehicle, right? Basically, right? You allow it to happen, right? And then you are your most highest and best good self, right? And it's because you didn't fucking say, I'm going to make this measurement, right? You just allowed what your body is capable of doing, do the thing, and you did your best work, right? Instead of like, oh, this is me doing this, and then it becomes this like, now, it brings it down a level, right? It brings it down to right, the level of ego, which is separation, right, which is that division, which is that standing out. And this isn't right. Remember, I'm saying you can stand so much fucking there and shine so much brighter, without taking credit, right? Don't take sides, don't take credit, don't take measurements. Right, that's the easy way to get on the fulcrum. And so being on the fulcrum, right, which is the purpose of this whole fucking chat, is that superpositional state, right, where all things exists, right? You permit the polarity without taking a side of the polarity, and then thus subject to rhythm, being in superior position and then inferior, right? Principle of rhythm, right? So you actually, as a sentient being, by permitting superposition, like this flow state where you don't recognize when you are operating at the highest potential, you are not there, right? This whole thing. And are you following? Are you with it? Is it fucking making sense? I mean, Jesus Christ. So yeah, it is that, right? That's the purpose of this whole thing. And to say that, right, that state of non-measurement, right, as a sentient being, that fulcrum operation, right, allows you to avoid the the severity of the wave, the rhythm of the wave, right, the frequency, right. It's a kind of surfing, right, where you're just staying in that null point, right, that Lagrange point, where the push and the pull are all the same. And then, right, that's the fulcrum. And so, and that's actually operating, right? The another way to look at it is the way Krishnamurti says it, is that love, right, is the fulcrum. And it's a non-polar position, right? And when we all operate from that positioning, right, then there's no need for this division, right, and opposition. And so the pattern of relationship changes on aggregate when we operate, right, from, as Krishnamurti says, a position of love, right, which is this non-polar fucking field that pervades through all space, right? That's the God particle. Right? It's the love particle, right? And that's correct. There is no paradox, right? Really, actually. The paradox is there is no paradox, because from that position, then wisdom is action, right? Then your action, in order to remain on the fulcrum, is wisdom, and is in alignment with the natural rhythm, right? And so that cosmic background, right, that unclumped, that uniform structure that is the substrate of all, right, is one thing, right? And so there is no, that is like, you can only say it by saying non-dual, right? That is the non-dual positioning, right? And so why not, right? That's what I say. It's like, okay, we all operate from that position, and it changes the aggregate pattern of relationship. And so it changes the structure of our society in operation towards the good and betterment of all, making this, better, right? Instead of just saying, oh, that's human nature, son. Fucking shut the fuck up. That's the oldest fucking argument in the book. And it's just an inversion. That's the fucking big lie. That's the lie, right? Is that, right? However you want to say it. And it all has baggage now, right? Because words have been hijacked and like shot with paintball, to ink them for people. Oh, to identify, oh, what that is. I know what that is. Stop listening. Lenses up. These words, right? That just get, you can't even say them, right? So I'll leave it up to your fucking own visualization. It's just, why not fucking be the best that we can? Why not? Why not be the right? Operate in the best mode possible. And so, right? I'm here, y'all. Right? Let's hear comments about that. Right? Start to think about it without any lenses, right? That's the only way to see with no dependencies. Yeah. All right. Yeah, so that is right. You permit the superposition, right? And by doing so, you operate from the cosmic background structure, substrate of all, right? Which is this pure potentiality of all things, which is love, right? Because there's no opposite of that, right? The substrate doesn't have an opposite, right? And so that's it. It's like, imagine how fucking, right? Because, yeah, the way we operate it is the exchange of value. So we permit the maximum fucking input from everyone, because anyone could, with their own way of fucking thinking, this unique apparatus that is separate, that offers the capability of novelty, right? Allow all of those fucking minds fucking to go at it, build the infrastructure for that, for everyone's unique little laboratory to be active and producing, right? And so we can build a system, we can use our technical knowledge that actually operates for the good of all, instead of how it works now. Right, and then it's real time fucking user fucking feedback, right? Where no product goes into production until it's already had gone through the phases of public exposure, right? And every production run is sold out before it goes in, before they press the button, right? The shit is fucking, I'm sorry about that, but that top of that fucking camera, but that's fucking spirit saying yes, yes. Right? Because this is how we do it, you guys. This is how it's done, right? It's so fucking simple. We just use the power of our technical knowledge, as opposed to the leverage that it can put on us, right? That can be used. That's power versus force. Yeah, there it is. Perfect fucking example, right? The power of our technical knowledge versus the leverage that it exhibits upon us, right? As a way to extract resources from us. So it's like we just flip that shit, make it work for us. The only reason it exists is 2,000 generations of living. Right? That's the only motherfucking reason that this technology exists. So use it for, without being stupid, like what not to be, right? Apophatic fucking inquiry. Don't be stupid. Look at our pattern, look at our track record. Stupidity all the way through, right? And look at what's happening, right? Act like, oh, it's your fault for permitting it to happen. it's they run it to the extreme in order to get the pendulum swing, you know, so that we react fucking, you know, overarchingly, right, as a majority in one particular manner that is totally predictable. Right. The only way to extricate ourselves from that is to, you know, against all the words again, no dependencies, right? We recognize that we are the value, and so we reject all of that other bullshit just by letting the new sources of value, right, which is this infrastructure that I speak of, taking the place of the old network that, you know, we could just disconnect from, like old plumbing, right? Like the old pipes, the old stone pipes underneath, you know, finally disconnecting from that bullshit where the nutrients are extracted by parasites, right? Before they ever get to us. You know what I mean? Right. And you get, when you are promoted up through society, you are, you know, conditioned to believe that this is like some kind of social Darwinism, and it's all bullshit. So yeah, why not do it smart, right? With intelligence, actual fucking actually being smart, you know? And hello, fucking warehouse ideas. Let's bounce them off of each other. Jesus Christ. All right. Much love, and not right. So it's not right. I heard Osho talking about that. Not much love, just love, right? Because much implies a measurement. You can't add to love. And that's the message, right? That's how you operate seemingly from a paradoxical position, the superposition. Yeah, that's what's up, superposition. Love you guys.